Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be our video number 37. Uh, Today, we're going to continue talking about our verbs. We've covered so far that we've talked about in the past videos, we talked about the 3 singular root letter verbs. I know it sounds kind of weird because it's like you're saying singular, but it has 3 letters. So, and I'll explain now what that means. So, we've in the past covered those verbs that has 3 letters in them, and those are the root letters. So, from that root, those 3 root letters stems other words and verbs from those 3. So, and then today we are going to be talking about what I have already went ahead and fixed our chart. So we're saving time. And today we're going to be talking about فعل ثلاثي مزيد في. So we're still talking about the verb. We're still talking about the verbs that has the 3 root letters. But what's extra added here? Before it used to be mujarrad, meaning that was it, nothing was added. But here today we're talking about mazid fi, meaning that extra, something else is extra added to these 3 root letter verbs. So today, inshallah, we're going to be going slowly, and we're going to be talking about also not only that, but we're going to be talking about different forms. Remember, I spoke the last video about talking about the 10 different forms of verbs that appear. So today, inshallah, we'll be starting the second form, which I have up here. This is form 2. And so far, we talked about basically what we did all the verbs in the past in the previous videos. They were the basic, I guess that would be considered as form 1. All right, so and then today we're going to be talking about form 2. And again, I went ahead and put down the chart here. So we are following the same pattern as we did before. We have to give the madi, mudari, the masdar, meaning which is the actual verb, and then the ism fa'il, the one who's doing it. And then we have to figure out the madi, the majhul, meaning the past tense, but someone who did it, we don't know who did it. And then same thing with mudari, majhul, meaning it's present, but we don't know who did it. And then masdar remains the same throughout this chart. And then when we come here, it becomes ism maf'ul, the thing that the action has been done to. This is the one who's doing the action. This is the one that the action is being done to. Excuse me. All right, and then we talked about down here al-amr minhu, meaning we have to figure out the command version from the mudari for this verb, whatever it's going to be. And then we also have to find out the an-nahy anhu, meaning when we have to negate it, we say don't, like don't sit, don't eat, don't read, whatever. So we have to do that, figure out. And then also al-zarfu minhu, al-zarf, like the last video we talked about, what does it mean? It means it's like a zarfu makan, a zarfu zaman, meaning like a place and time where this took place or it happened. So that's also another thing that we have to figure out, inshallah, for all of these verbs. The reason I'm doing this is because right now you might say, well, I don't really need to know all of that, but which is fine. But it's always better to understand as much as you can. If as much as you can take in, it's great if you could do that, because we want to know in different areas how the verb is behaving. What are the changes that's coming to the verb? Sometimes it's missing the kasra is changing to dhamma, or dhamma is changing to a kasra, or it's taking an extra letter, or whatever is happening to it. We need to know these forms and patterns in order to, inshallah, be able to apply this back to the Quran and understand what we're reading. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and start on the first verb for this form. We're working on form 2, and I'll show you what is added on this verb, what's extra, because that is the whole point about mazid fi, meaning something extra is added in this verb. All right, so I'll give you the basic 3 root letter, the verb that we're talking about, and then I'll show you what is extra added in here. So the verb is normally it would be alima. So I'm going to write it here, even though it has nothing to do with this, but I'm just using this extra space here. So it would be alima, right? Alima. This is the 3 basic root letter, which is ain, lam, and meme, right? Is to know, or he knew, to know. Alima. Now, on today's verb, the form two, we talked about the ayn kalima, lam kalima, and the mim kalima, right? Or sorry, not we did it the fa'ala version. Fa'ala, meaning this stands for fa'al. So we have the fa kalima, ayn kalima, and lam kalima. So in this verb, the lam here, it takes another lam. So they're adding another lam in this verb. So how are we going to read it? As allama. So now we have to merge the two lams with a shadda on it, and then we have to put it down here. So let me erase this before we get confused. And then I'll write the actual verb where it should go. So the Maldi version would be allama. Allama. So notice the lam, there's two lams now because we have the shadda on it, and then it has the fatha on top of it. So now as a reader, anytime you see a shadda, so that indicates that there's two of that letter in that word. So here, that's what it's telling us. So we're going to read it as allama. We have to pronounce that extra lam in there, right? So it becomes the madi is allama, and then mudari becomes yu'allimu. Yu'allimu. Yu'allimu, right? And also notice something else. In the basic form, it used to be alima ya'lamu, right? It would start with a fatha. Excuse me. So now it's going to change, now starting with yu'allimu. All right. And then the masdar becomes, or the actual verb is ta'aliman. Ta'aliman. Ta'aliman or ta'alimun. And then, excuse me, fahuwa muallimun. The fa'il becomes muallimun. 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 Okay. And this means to teach, meaning allama, to teach. Yu'allimu. Muallimun, the one who is teaching. Muallim. And so now we have to go to the majhul version of this and figure out the majhul. Remember, majhul, we see the sound is ui, right? So now here becomes ullima. Ullima, and then becomes yu'allamu. Yu'allamu, and then this stays the same, ta'liman. And then it becomes mu'allamun. Ism maf'ul becomes mu'allamun. Here, the changes are not that big of a deal, but it is. So we have to pay extra attention. So here is mu'allimun, because the kasra is going to be in the bottom, mu'allimun. And then here it becomes mu'allamun, right? So that would be the maf'ul. Excuse me. And now we talk about al-amru minhu. So how do we make this into command? Excuse me. Allim. Allim. And it takes a sukun. وَالنَّهِي عَنْهُ لَا تُعَلِّمْ. So it becomes لا تعلم. Again with sukun. And then the ظرف, والظرف منه معلم. معلم معلم. It's the same thing here. So the اسم مفعول and the ظرف, it's going to be the same. Okay. And in this, going in forward with these different forms, the ظرف is going to be usually, most of the time, it's going to be just one word. Remember the last video we talked about when we came to the ظرف, they had 3 versions. But here is just going to have a version. All right, so now if you guys just like make a chart like this for yourself for form 2, and then you can do this as a template and then use this to plug in other verbs that will fall, that you can make it into form 2. And it could be any verb. You can use the verb kataba, you can darasa, jalasa, whatever it is, you can put it in this pattern as well. And then you go forward the same way. Okay, so this is what we use to plug in the next verb and then continue. So this is our form 2. It's علم يعلم تعليما, فهو معلم. And then علم is to teach. And then علم is the past tense, and it was مجهول, we don't know, but it was taught. علم يعلم تعليما is the same, stays the same. And then اسم مفعول becomes معلم. And then مفعول and ظرف is the same. معلم معلم here. And then an amr becomes علم. And then to say to don't teach, لا تعلم, don't teach. And then the ظرف, the place is معلم. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this, and then inshallah we will come back with our form 3. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about form 3. Now I'll show you what is added in form 3 to the basic 3 letter verb. In this form, an alif is added. So we use the example for, let's just, for the sake of keeping it simple. So we have fa, ala, right? So this is our basic 3 root letter verb. Fa'ala means to work, to do. So, and then in here, in form 3, an alif is added here. So now it becomes fa'ala, right? So now this is something new that is added in this form 3, and the alif is added. So now we're going to be using this to add our new verb here. Okay, so the verb we have is, it could be any verb that you can put in this place. Okay, it doesn't have to be the specific, but that's what I have, so you guys can use this as your template going forward. We want to use verbs that are very easily and commonly used, so when we're practicing it and memorizing it, it's easy to remember instead of picking a difficult verb that's not so common. Like allama yu'allimu, that's mu'allimun, that's very common, right? So try to use verbs like that. So this one, form 3, is added an extra alif. So we have the word is, the basic root would be jahada, jahada, right? To strive, to struggle. That's the 3 root letter. So now we're going to add the alif on there, so it becomes jahada. And then mudari is yujahidu. And then the masdar will become jihadan wa mujahada. There's 2 of them. They have 2 masdars. Jihadan, jihadan, or mujahadata, mujahadata. mujahadatan. And then the ism fa'il, the one who's doing it, that person or that individual will become mujahid, mujahidun. Mujahidun is the one who is doing the struggle and the striving. So now we have to figure out the majhul. So now it becomes juhida. Remember, e sound. Juhida. Yujahadu. My paper doesn't want to stay. Here is yujahidu, here's yujahadu, because the fatha is on the top. So that's how you sometimes can remember that, okay, that's majhul. Juhida, yujahadu, the masdar remains the same, jihadan. And then mujahada. Mujahada. And then the ism maf'ul becomes mujahadun. Mujahadun. Here is mujahidun. Here's mujahadun. Notice how here is yujahidu, mujahidu. Here is yujahadu, mujahadu. So they kind of follow the same pattern. Fatha, fatha, kasra, kasra here. Sometimes like little things can help you remember. It's like, oh, okay, I know in this form it takes a kasra, kasra, but in majhul, the fatha goes on the top. So whatever works for you that you can remember. All right, so and then the command will be al-amru minhu jahid. And it takes a sukun. Jahid. And then النهي عنه لا تجاهد. I left the la already here. La tujahid. And then it's a sukun here and a sukun here. And then الظرف منه, it's mujahadun. It's same as the maf'ul. Mujahadun. Okay. I'm going to erase this. That was our root letter, the basic. So now for form 3, we've added an alif. After the fa kalima, we've added an alif. So if you do the fa'ala, yufa'ilu, fi'alan, and it goes, you can put that in there and it'll work in the same way. All right, so we already give the meaning, jahada, to strive and to struggle. That is the meaning. And we give all of the different variation of how it changes. Here, I just want to point something out because you might wondering, like, well, we added an alif. Why is there a waw here? And it's a rule of the Arabic grammar is sometimes the ya and kasra are compatible, and then the waw, the fatha and the waw are sometimes compatible. And so it's for the ease of pronunciation, for the ease of flow. Sometimes so some certain things are like tweaked a little bit to make it sound better. So like in here, because the Madi Majhul, it has to start with the e sound. So if you keep the alif, you can't even pronounce it with the jim fatha, with the jim, with the dhamma and alif. You can, if you try to pronounce, you can't even pronounce it. So because of that reason, the alif is changed into waw. now you can pronounce it juhida, right? So I just wanted to point that out. All right, I will come back with a clean board for form 4. All right, so now we are coming to form 4 of our verbs. So in the form 4, oh, it's hard to say that. What's added? So let's go back to our basic fa'ala. Fa'ala. So here, there's the hamza. This is hamzatul qat'a, meaning hamza, like that. This is added to here, and it's in the beginning. So it would become af'ala, right? So this is how it's going to be. Af'ala. So now any other verb that we're going to plug in here is going to take this form. Okay. So the verb that we have is, and what you guys can probably do as we're going through this for verb form 5, you can put up here, add hamza in the beginning, or you can form 2, you can say double the lam kalima, or for form 3 you can say after the fa kalima you add an alif. So just little things for yourself, so when you're working on the next verbs, you can just look at that and say, oh, after here I need to add an alif, or at the beginning I have to add an hamzatul qat'a, or whatever. Okay, so this would be the form. So now here we're dealing with af'ala. This is the pattern. All of these are called patterns, so like they're different patterns. So the verb that we have here, we're going to be using, the root is salama. Salama, to mean to be in peace, right? Comfort, peace, and all of that. So now we're going to be adding a hamza in front of it. So let's go here. So it becomes aslama. Aslama. So the right after the hamza, then the next letter takes a sukun. Aslama, and then mudari becomes yuslimu. Yuslimu, right? And then masdar is islaman or islamun. Islaman or islamun. And then ism fa'il becomes muslim or muslimun. Okay. Aslama, meaning to like submit yourself, to submit. Yuslimu. Islaman, which is the masdar form, the verb, submission. That's what that means. Now, the person who's doing the action, ism fa'il, the person who's doing this action, it's he or she is called Muslim. So therefore, we are called Muslim because we have submitted ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, we're called Muslim. All right. The next majhul version is uslima. Remember ui sound? Uslima. Yuslamu. Same thing, Islaman. Or Islamin. Sorry, Islamun. And then Muslamun, ism maf'ul. مسلم. مسلم مسلم. This is اسم مفعول. All right, let me erase this so more space. الأمر منه. الأمر منه meaning the command version, so we have to say أسلم. أسلم. النهي عنه لا تسلم. Already have the la there. تسلم. سكون. And then the ظرف, it's the same thing as مجهول, as مفعول. مسلم. مسلم. Okay. As you can see, alhamdulillah, it's not very complicated. You basically are just following the same pattern, and you just have to pay attention what's added in this verb. And this basic root letter, what's added. So like in this case, we have the basic root letter is salama, right? Sin, lam, and mim. And then we've added the hamzatul qat'a in the beginning, which is the hamza, it comes on top of the alif, so that's how you write it. There's something else I gotta point out real quick here because I don't want you to guys get confused. Here we call this hamzatul qat'a, the alif with hamza on it. And we read this, we pronounce this every time we read this, right? When we come across it, like in this word, aslama. But sometimes there's something else, it's called hamzatul wasl. This is al-qat'a. This is hamzatul qat'a. That means you have to pronounce this when you come across it. And then we have another one, it's called hamzatul wasl. It's something like this. It has this beginning of the sod on the top. So this is called al-wasl. And you notice the sod here, wasl, and then the sod here. So I for myself, I sometimes make the connection like this. So what happens is that here we have to read it when we come across it. In this situation, when we come across hamzatul wasl, this sometimes you don't read it. It gets assimilated to the next word. I don't have the example right now here, but like when we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, so it has alif lam with hamzatul wasl on it. So sometimes it gets assimilated. So like ash-shams, so I don't have all the specific words here in front of me, but I just wanted to point that out, that there's a difference between these two. And because we are talking about hamzatul qat'a in this form that we use, so I just wanted to make sure that we are aware of the two different things that we have. So this is called hamzatul qat'a, that we have to pronounce that, right? Okay, so I think this is it. I just want to make sure we have everything correct. Yes, let's just go over it. Aslama yuslimu islaman, islamun, and then muslimun. Uslima yuslamu islaman, muslimun. Al-amru minhu aslim, النهي عنه لا تسلم. الظرف منه مسلم. And then these are just what I just explained. All right, inshallah, I will come back with a clean board with the form 5. All right. This form 5, here, let's go back to the fa'ala, and then we'll point out what's added here. This is our basic فعل. Now here, this letter is doubled, and then a ta is added to the beginning. So if we put it all together, the verb is going to be, let's just write it together. Let's see, ta plus fa, ain plus ain, and then plus lam. So it becomes تفعل. 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 So, but this is how you would write it. تفعل. If you take away the ta, you're looking at form 2. Remember when we started with form 2? علم. فعل. It's the same thing. It's form 2, but the only difference is now the ta is added in the front, the letter ta. So now there's 2 addition here. Not only the ain kalima is doubled, and then we're also adding a ta. So 2 things are added to this form 5. So let me erase this, and then we'll give the example of the verb that I have here. تفرق. 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 تفرق يتفرق. يتفرق. تفرق يتفرق. تفرقا. مصدر is تفرقا. 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 And then the اسم فاعل becomes متفرق. متفرق. Sorry, I'm going ahead of myself. متفرق. متفرق. تفرق يتفرق. تفرقا. متفرق. And then ماضي مجهول becomes تفورق. تفرق. Remember OE sound. تفرق. تفرق. يتفرق. يتفرق. تفرق. يتفرق. This stays the same. مصدر is تفرقا. And then it becomes متفرق. 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 متفرقا. معلم. معلم. And then الأمر منه تفرق. تفرق. سكون. النهي عنه لا تتفرق. لا تتفرق. تتفرق والسكون. لا تتفرق. والظرف منه متفرق. متفرق. Same thing as مفعول. متفرق. Sorry, this shouldn't be here. Okay. متفرق. I know it's a little tongue twister, but you don't have to use this verb. You can use something a little bit more simple. So it's just easy to pronounce, inshallah. But let's go over it one more time. تفرق يتفرق تفرقا متفرق. تفرق يتفرق تفرقا متفرق. الأمر منه تفرق والنهي عنه لا تتفرق. الظرف منه متفرق. All right. So this was our form 5. We've added 2 things in this verb. We've added an extra ayn letter, and then we brought the ta in the beginning of the verb. So if you would just take away the ta here, so it would just be farraqa. Farraqa yufarriqu. But since we've added that extra ta, it changes and then extra ayn letter. All right, I will go ahead and erase the board, and then we're going to come back with form 6. And this pattern, which is form 6 now, what is 2 things are added here. Let's go back to the basic 3 root letter. Fa, a, la. So a ta is added, and then an alif is added here. So we have ta plus fa plus alif plus ayn plus lam. So now when we make a word out of this, we write it together. Now it becomes tafa'ala. Tafa. So here's our new letter, which is ta, and then here's our new letter, which is alif. It's added to fa kalima, which is this. Tafa, and then the rest becomes simple. It's ayn and lam, ala. So this is our new pattern, tafa'ala. So in this form number 6, the verbs are going to sound like this, and they're going to have these things added to it. So let's erase this, and then we're going to work on our actual verb. Okay, and then the word we have here is the root is awana. Awana means to help. Awana. So now we're going to add ta and alif into this awana. So it becomes ta'awana. Ta'awana, right? So here's that extra ta and here's that extra alif. If we take those 2 away, we're left with ayn, waw, and nun, awana. But now these are added, so now it's ta'awana. Now the mudari becomes yata'awanu. Yata'a. Ta'awana, yata'awanu, and then ta'awunan. Ta'awunan. So wow. And then the ism fa'il becomes muta'awin. Muta'awinun. Muta'awinun. Okay. Now we come to Madi Majhul. So now this becomes tu'uwina. Remember, alif goes back because we have to pronounce the u-e sound. So we have to bring the wow. So now that's why we have that du'u. Du'u. Du'uwina yuta'awanu yuta'awanu. Ta'awunan is the same thing. Muta'awanun. Muta'awinun, muta'awanun. It's always kasra here, fatha here. Okay, and then let's go to the Amr version. Al-amru minhu ta'awan. Noon and has a sukun in it. النهي عنه لا تتعاون. تتعاون. سكون. لا تتعاون. And then والظرف منه متعاون. Same thing as here. متعاون. Okay. I did mention the meaning is to help one another. Ta'awan, to help each other. So this is this form. That's what it means, to help each other. And I think I forgot to mention on the last verb that we did, tafarraqa. I don't know if I give the meaning for that, but to become different, to have become sects, to become different, to have a farq, to have a difference, or in this case, to become divided. Tafarraqa. All right, so let's go over this real quick, inshallah. So we have ta'awana, yata'awanu, ta'awunan, muta'awinun. Tu'uwina, yuta'awanu, ta'awunan, wa muta'awanun. تعاون تعاون الأمر منه تعاون النهي عنه لا تتعاون الظرف منه متعاون. All right, we will come back inshallah with form 7. Now we have form 7. So we're still on the same pattern, فعل ثلاثي مزيد فيه, and the basic pattern, the basic 3 root letters, that the other things that are added. So in this form, on the form 7, let's go back to our basic fa'ala. So here we have alif and noon is added in front. Alif and noon is added in front of the verb. So, and then we do plus fa, plus ain, plus lam. So let's put this all together. We'll rewrite it as in fa'ala. In fa'ala. The first letter takes a sukun. In fa'ala. So now this is form 7. This is form 7. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put the actual verb that we're talking about in here. Okay. So we have qalaba. Qalaba. So now if we put the alif noon in front of it, it becomes inqalaba. Qalaba is to change something, right? To change. And so In this form, just keep one thing in mind, that this form, Form 7, does not have the majhul version. It just don't. So it has only, excuse me, the Madi Mulari and that. So we'll just go ahead and write that down here. So we have inqalaba. Inqalaba, yanqalibu. Yanqalibu. Masdar is inqilaban. Inqilaban. And then it's munqalibun. Munqalibun. Okay. So inqalaba means to like like overturn. Since we don't have the majhul, we will go ahead and do the al-amr. Al-amru minhu inqalib. With sukun. And then والنهي عنه لا تنقلب. سكون. والظرف منه منقلب. منقلب. Okay. So this is Form 7 is pretty easy. It's just all of this. We don't have the majhul version to worry about. And we will go ahead and stop here on this video, inshallah, and we will come back with the remaining of it on the next video. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.